you invested in Smash Capital. And this is going to be one of the defining moments of the offseason in college football. All of these representatives from these power schools meeting with Smash Capital yesterday to talk about an injection of private equity money into their equations and bottom lines in college football. And I am warning you right now, this is not how you fix college football. I know everybody's on board, and I see all the talking heads saying that, you know, Smash Capital, and this is exactly what, you know, the major P4 conferences should be doing, and the Big 12 is vulnerable, and how can the Big 12 not be, you know, opening up the coffers to Smash Capital? This is a mistake. I'm just going to tell you that plain and simple. You are not going to generate enough revenue where Smash Capital's private equity is going to make a difference for you. And there's a reason that all of these rich dudes are so singularly focused on pooling your media rights. And I've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into understanding the pros and cons of pooling media rights. And I am telling you right now, guys like Smash Cap and the stuff that they are proposing, notice that their one sheet, they have an answer for everything. It is 2026, and most of this media rights stuff that just started, these grant of rights and these contracts that won't expire until early in the 2030s, like 2032 through 2034. And as we reported exclusively on this show yesterday, sports television executives are a hard no on pooling college sports rights. And they're a hard no because they're not willing to open up these contracts to get it done. What does Smash Capital say about that? Oh, that's no big deal. We're just getting ready for 2034. So then why do we need an act of Congress right now? Why do we need to have all of our ducks in a row for 8 years down the line? Because you're trying to get your hooks into college athletics. Who needs Smash Capital more? College afterthoughts like the G6? Because they're the ones that need Smash Capital. The P4 does not need Smash Capital. What the P4 needs is to get rid of the dead weight. What the Big 12 needs is to get rid of the dead weight at Baylor and at Oak State. Get rid of the dead weight. Get rid of the dead weight at TCU. Get rid of the dead weight around this league that refuses to do what is necessary to win every single game of football. Get rid of the dead weight that refuses to invest in humanity to make sure, I don't know that you have like a commercial sales division at every university. Most of the Big 12 does not have that. You understand that, right? Most Big 12 universities do not have a commercial sales division. BYU does. Texas Tech does. Most of the Big 12 does not. They don't have a sales operation. And you're trying to convince me that injecting private equity into these universities, when you have presidents who aren't willing to do what needs to be done, when you have athletic directors who constantly get fired for bad acts, that private equity is going to fix that. Private equity is going to fix just shrugging off a DUI. Private equity is going to fix sexual assault scandals. Private equity is going to fix athletic directors putting their hands on players on the field and on the sideline. Private equity is not going to fix Dave Aranda still being a football coach in the Big 12. You can give them more money, and they're going to spend it poorly. That's the reality of the Big 12. You don't have to agree with me. But what you have to do is be real about where this conference is. The Big 12 is not a national player, not in football. Everything that Brett Yormark is doing, all the innovation, this push to monetize everything in basketball, that's at the conference level. Doing the Windex deal, that's at the conference level. How come every university is not pushing the envelope like the Big 12 is at the conference level? How come BYU? How come, like I even look at Texas Tech and what they're doing with innovation in their sports nutrition and strength and conditioning programs. Who are the only two doing that currently? That's BYU and Texas Tech. And who are the only two continuously winning in football and basketball right now? As a pair, who are the only two consistently winning in this conference? That'd be BYU and Texas Tech. Kansas can't play football. Arizona plays football okay. Houston isn't winning in basketball or football right now, and Iowa State's an absolute disaster in football. What innovation is happening in Ames in the athletic department? That's because most of this conference is along for the ride. So if you go with this belief, and if you don't know what Smash Capital is, let me explain it to you. Smash Capital, this is what they've put out. These are talking points as part of a presentation about, like, hey, we can't break existing media contracts. Look at the second bullet point there. No one is proposing to break existing contracts. The SBA-like protection enables legal coordination now so that schools, conferences, and a unified negotiation entity can do the years of governance, structural, and relationship work required before the next contract cycle begins in approximately 2034. So, and I know I am not smart, and I don't know anything about how business is done. But let me just understand this. College football changes day to day, and you're asking these universities in the Big 12 to sign on to something that is 8 years in the future. Does that seem like a savvy business move if you're the Big 12? Sign away your financial freedom 8 years in the future. You don't know what's going to happen 8 hours from now. And you want to sign away your financial future for 8 years? You want to sell out to daddy for something that might happen 8 years down the road.
Yes.
That seems very not smart. And I think the thing that I struggle with most here is that you have, again, and I don't mean to be obtuse, but I look at what Smash Capital is offering, and I just ask myself, where's the win at Smash Capital? And if somebody wants to jump in here and educate me, because I've talked to people in TV about it. Smash Capital is trying to get you to sign your commitments away 8 years from now so that they can take control of the TV industry. That's what they're trying to do. Do they have some good ideas? Yes. Codifying the existence of Olympic and women's sports, very good idea. Very good idea. But I'm not willing to trade my TV rights 8 years down the road to make sure that we save women's and Olympic sports, which is fully in our own control right now to do so. So why would we? And then you look at what Brett Yormark has said. This is Brett Yormark being opposed to Smash Capital. I am not surprised. While I encourage collaboration and efforts to find solutions to challenges facing our industry, I take exception to the fact that Smash Capital, providing no novel concepts, is preying on the current vulnerabilities of many of our institutions, with the primary goal of generating a significant double-digit return. If key stakeholders determine third-party resources are needed, I recommend we engage with the right thought leaders and the most established financial institutions. And again, I think the last line here is really important. A group Smash Capital is not part of. You understand that Smash Capital is just a group of dudes who are trying to take their billions and make more billions, which is why Cody Campbell is such a big fan. Birds of a feather, right? Mm-hmm. But what I'm asking you is, do you really think injecting Smash Capital into a dysfunctional Big 12 leadership group fixes the Big 12? Because I'm here to tell you it's not going to fix the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, it's got wildfire written all over it. It's got disaster written all over it. And I think that I think you're exactly right. The Big 12's current predicament, if you will, of not being able to prove that they can be successful in the current format, it doesn't mean inherently then that you need to go to people like Smash Capital for some type of fix. Like, more money doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to run a better business unit or somehow become successful in the current format. And so then it's like, all right, well, the risk of bringing on private equity is high, in my opinion. I mean, we've had the private equity conversation for a long time. And, you know, I pre and post Cody Campbell's existence in college football, I think that conversation changed. And yeah, I would agree that Cody Campbell, for me, Cody Campbell for me is definitely a sour topic. You know, I think that Cody initially was kind of this guy that was a hero and spending money and everyone loved him. But now with this whole initiative to, you know, centralize TV media rights and all that, I just think people are a little burned on it. And I think that when you begin to understand why he supports Smash Capital and why they're trying to kind of work together and push the same direction. Well, I mean, it would make sense, right? Because if you think about what he's trying to do, Smash Capital is just trying to be the money engine behind efforts like his and others. And I think that's what I find challenging is that yeah, this league, the Big 12 specifically, is a league that hasn't found a lot of success in the CFP. And I think that it never recovered from Texas and OU leaving. And I think that the Big 12 had this opportunity to climb the ranks when Utah and the other schools joined after BYU had joined, because you had a couple of brands that, you know, people thought could compete. And that just flamed completely. And you were unable to capture that momentum and win and, like, you know, establish yourself at a higher level. And now you're heading the wrong direction. I mean, Houston's got a good basketball team, but they're not some prolific athletic department, right? Like, you know, West Virginia, heritage, but not really competitive. You know, like you look around this league, and I just think that there's not enough people that are trying to do what it takes. And that's why I say that this separation of power here needs to happen. The schools that want to compete in football shouldn't have to deal with or be held down or dragged down by these schools that are not interested. And again, it sounds harsh to say that, like, the G6 or anyone really below, you know, the power schools are also Rans, but in the bigger picture, they are. Like, I don't really care who you are, but if you're in the G6 right now, you're not, you don't have the power to affect change at all. And that's why I say it's not really about, like, you know, if you're good on the football field or not right now in the G6, it's about what you're going to do in the future. Because if Smash Capital is looking 8 years down the line and you're not, that should be a red flag to you. That should be a signal to you that you need to be thinking about this conversation a little bit differently. And that again is why I think that last line from Brett Yormark is so important, to your point. Like, understanding that, hey, if we did need external funds, if we did want some kind of cash injection, it wouldn't be from Smash Capital. We
That's right.
we would go to like some iconic banking institution. We would go to a trusted, tried and true, reliable, reasonable institution to get something done, not to the hedge fund bros who are just looking to bring a company in, gut it, and make money and move along. And that's what I think. That's where I think when you start talking about ethics and morals and how the right way to do things and what's best for the Big 12, Smash Capital so clearly is not what's best for the Big 12 or really anything in college football, in my opinion.
Listen, that may be something in the future, but you have no track record amongst your presidents of capable operators. You have no track record amongst your leadership in this conference, the Big 12, of doing all that can be done to leverage athletics and make it the financial windfall that each of these universities needs it to be. Because make no mistake that college football and college basketball pay a lot of salaries and a lot of bills at almost every major university. And the Big 12 for decades has been plagued by mismanagement at the university level. They have been plagued by poor decision-making at the university level. And you look at college football, and this is one of the things that I know, again, is not popular, and most people don't agree with me. Most of the problems that college athletics have now have been born out of bad decision-making and poor leadership.
Yes.
The very fact that the Pac-12 no longer exists is poor decision-making and bad leadership.
What better example?
The very fact that Oklahoma and Texas, Nebraska, Missouri, Texas A&M, the very fact that none of them are in the Big 12, poor decision-making and poor leadership. And you want to take billions of somebody else's dollars and hand them to these people who make bad decisions and are bad leaders. And you think that's going to fix the issues in this conference? Because I've got news for you. That's not happening. When you continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, you almost always end up a loser. Facts. And that's what this conference is going to do. If you sign on to the Smash Capital agreement, I believe Brett Yormark will resign. If you sign on to the Smash Capital agreement, I believe that this conference will collapse under the weight of those billions of dollars. Because the leadership that is in place currently in this conference has no idea what to do with that money and does not give a rat's ass about winning college football games. They don't care about anything but the name on the side of the practice facility. They have no interest on what happens inside of it. None whatsoever. Now, am I telling you that college athletics on the whole is healthy? Certainly not at this moment. What you need is congressional action to create a new entity. What you need is to stop using college athletics as a charity and giving everybody a participation medal. Cut the fat. Make the G6 go and do their own thing. They don't have the financial capabilities at this moment to compete amongst the P4. Because the truth is, 65% of the P4 don't have the financial ability to compete with the other 35% of the P4. That's the reality of the world we live in. But yet what we want to do is we want to say, well, we deserve a seat at the table. Actually, you don't. Well, everybody should have. No, they shouldn't. No, they should not. The G6 needs Smash Capital. Why? Because they also need their own new entity. Nobody talks about it. Everybody wants to focus on the P4. The G6 need a new entity. The G6 need antitrust protections, and the G6 need their own championship season. They need their own playoff. because they'll make more money. If we're all interested in making sure, and I think they said something like codifying the existence of the G6, all
People
in
love
favor.
that word.
All
People
in
love
favor
that word.
of codifying the existence of the G6.
Yeah.
Let's do that by creating their own playoff system, by creating a new entity that protects the assets and the rights of G6 universities and allows them to thrive at a lower financial threshold. That's what we need. And what we need is the exact same thing for the P4. We don't need them together. Oh, but we can't restrict or shrink, or nobody's shrinking anything. Do you not understand? If you create and you codify the existence of the G6 and you create their own entity for the G6, it grows, it blossoms, it blooms, because they're not trying to spend the billions that Ohio State is. They're not out selling some fairy tale and some dream that they can't possibly bring to reality. And maybe that's what this is. I've been talking about this on social media for 2 weeks, I feel like.
Yeah.
Stop dreaming. All these are dreams and hopes and visions. No. How about you get into action and take pragmatic moves? Separate the G6, create their own new entity, give them protections and assets under the law. Then Smash Capital come in and fund a new playoff system for the G6. How about that? Okay, great. Now, how do you fix dysfunction like the Big 12? Well, you melt down the Big 12 football. You melt down Big 12 football. It goes away. So does the ACC in football. So does the SEC. So does the Big 10. Create a new entity in and of itself. And I don't believe that we need hundreds of teams in that new entity.
I was going to say, do you think as part of that process, there should be some sort of way to, some sort of option, a way to say, like, the obvious example is like, hey, there's a fee to join the new entity. But
I think, no,
short
not
of
at all.
that.
Not at all. I think if you're in the P4 now, you need an on-ramp and an off-ramp.
Yeah.
And if you want to get in, you should have to play by a very strict set of rules. Very much like the NFL, and I'll continue to say this. I've said it for 3 years now. Very much like the NFL. Salary caps. I absolutely believe that you need an executive structure at every university that is consistent and legislated, where you have GMs and you have assistant GMs and you have a management structure that's going to cost you this much money. You have a salary cap that encompasses all revenue paid to players. There's no side deals. There's no, hey, let's connect this player with this tree planting thing so that we can pay him extra money.
Tampering.
Let's not do that. Let's put into effect and like rigidly enforce rules and regulations about the structures of your football department, including a salary cap. Then you can go ahead and pool your media rights. Because without a new entity that has government protections, pooling your media rights isn't a thing. And when rich guys like Smash Capital and Cody Campbell tell you it is, call them liars, because they are. They can do nothing. As I said yesterday on this show, is it an accident that I report one day, hey, the sports TV executives are meeting on a regular basis talking about whether or not it is possible to pool media rights? Do you think it's accidental that the day we report that and the week we've spent troving that information and building that network of information, you just think it's accidental that we report that 2 other national outlets don't credit us, but report word for word, verbatim what we said 3 hours later. And then all of a sudden, this Smash Capital memo which I would point out to you, and I don't know that we have the screenshot where it shows it. The Smash Capital memo, look what it says in the top left corner. Privileged and confidential.
Apparently not.
And that just gets leaked to the media the minute that we report that the major sports television companies are unwilling to open their contracts and are not in favor of pooling media rights in the current climate. What did I tell you was the only way that the sports television industry is willing to pool media rights for college athletics? You remember what I said? Our sources told us the only way that that can happen is if a new entity is created with legislative government protection. You know who else has legislative government protection? Every major sports league, with the exception of the NCAA. Baseball's got it. Hockey's got it. The NFL's got it. The NBA's got it. Major League Lacrosse has it. But college sports doesn't have it. That's the thing you need. You don't need Smash Capital coming in and handing money to people who are just going to light it on fire. You don't need that. These are the mistakes that has put college athletics exactly where it is. And you want to throw bad money on top of bad money. I can't fix that. There's no fixing stupid. Right? You're all master's degree. Do you understand how many of these dumb fucks have MBAs? Do you understand how many of these people that routinely make the worst decisions in college athletics? Oh, look at my MBA. Look at all the pictures on the wall, framed my degree and this degree and that degree. And you're still a terrible operator of your university. I can't fix stupid. When you enable stupid people to continue to be stupid, because that's what they've done. The governance of college athletics for decades has made stupid decision after stupid decision, has burned money, has not fired Mike Gundy, has not fired Dave Aranda, has not fired Sonny Dykes, has not for decades and decades and decades. And now you want to hand them billions and enable them to continue to act in that exact same fashion. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. And why are we here? I want to remind you, what is the genesis of all of the problems that we currently have? The billionaires didn't want to pay young black athletes money. They wanted to oppress these athletes, which they did for decades and decades and decades, because they're not smart. They're greedy. Any university president will say yes to Smash Capital. And here's how you know, before I get to the comments section. You want to know why this is such foolishness? Smart people put leaders in place. And when they put a leader in place, they listen to him. You have a guy in Brett Yormark who you've put in place. Almost unquestionably, everything he's done for the Big 12 has turned to gold. We'll see how this basketball court thing goes, but he's already made money on it with Windex.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a question. Everything Brett Yormark has done is turned to gold. And he's telling you this is a mistake. Smash Capital, a group of former TV executives, remember that. Marcus and I were talking about the people in that group. These are smart people who know how to make money for themselves. Go find me the guy inside of Smash Capital who makes everybody money and distributes their wealth to the needy.
Yeah, I know that Smash Capital labels themselves as a charity, right?
That doesn't exist. None of these dudes at Smash Capital are in this for anybody other than the dudes at Smash Capital. Your guy that you hired and put in place to lead you into the future and show you how to do the right things is telling you, don't do this. Not with these dudes. This is a mistake. He knows all of them. He's worked with all of them. And he's telling you, don't do this. This is a mistake. And you're going to ignore him. And then he's going to resign as your commissioner. And then you're going to wonder where it all went wrong. Mark my words. March 4th, 2026. You get into bed with that dog and you get fleas, Brett Yormark is going to resign. That is my guess. That is my guess.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Let's get in to your comments. And again, Calamoni, awesome. I really appreciate you guys. Become a member of the show. It really helps the channel grow. We're going through a thing before I get to the comments section. I don't know if we're just having a moment with YouTube. They are suppressing a lot of our content right now. And it is very odd that as we've talked about certain world events, notice that our views have gone from like 5,000 per video to hundreds per video.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that. We have 210,000 subscribers or whatever it is on this channel. We have a video that's got 349 views.
Quick sidebar to that point for you guys in the comments section as we talk about this college football thing. How much do you watch YouTube versus how much do you watch like TikTok or a different platform? Because there's been a lot of conversations, I feel like, amongst viewers and just in general about like which platforms are heading the right direction, which are not. And YouTube's been one of those where the suppression thing is not unique to us. That's something that's been going on for a lot of creators on YouTube. And I think that
Yep.
while I have big ethical issues with TikTok, there's no question that it is prolific. And I would be interested to know, you know, if the show was streamed on TikTok, let's say, if that would be a better solution for you guys rather than YouTube. I would be curious about that.
Phil Venzer says, we're not, I think you mean we are not an afterthought at UNLV. I resent that. You are an afterthought.
Yeah.
With all due respect, with all the great things UNLV is doing, because UNLV is doing a lot of great things. The money that they've been able to generate in the last 6 months is, what was that, bro?
My door closed. I think there's a window open I'm not aware of.
Your
so it shook my wall.
Wow.
Yeah,
the UNLV's been doing great stuff. Great stuff. You're an afterthought. The G6 isn't. Nobody knows Utah State. Nobody knows. This is the Pac-12's problem. Like Yogi Roth the other week talking about how, you know, the Pac-12 is going to, what did he say? You look at the best teams in this league, I believe they'll find themselves in the college football playoff.
No, they won't.
He believes that. Yogi Roth believes that. And I believe that I'm 150 pounds and I have a six-pack of abs. You know. I don't do TikTok or Instagram. Oh, I love TikTok. I'm on TikTok constantly. I am YouTube only, but this is mostly because of you guys. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, one of the limiting things with TikTok for us is we use Apple machines to run this show. And TikTok has not been able to integrate with Apple yet. So
Nope.
that's one of the reasons we don't live stream on TikTok currently.
Yep. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Honestly. Calamoni's the GOAT. Yes, he is. Bobby Fowler. Sorry I'm behind, but what is Smash Capital? It's a group of former television executives and hedge fund guys. They do private equity. And they are trying to leverage their billions into college athletics. So Maybe it is just me, but Smash Capital sounds like some name, a bro talk name. Well, it is a bro talk name.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is, and that's why I don't understand again it's so funny. Like you run an institution, you run an educational institution, yet all you're after is money, and that's the thing that's hilarious in all of this is that these people running these institutions only care about money. Like you take, even if you're looking at like Michigan or like you're looking at schools that have drama, like you not doing anything about it because all you care about is money. And again, when you're chasing money, it's just going to be the downfall of your whole business, dude.
Yep.
Like that's the problem.
Yep. I agree with that. I trust Brett Yormark. If he says it's bad, then we should stay away from it. You need to go and research why it's bad. Once
But
you
they don't
get
want to do that,
into,
dude. They don't want
no,
to do that. That's the problem.
no. And this is what bad leaders do. You put somebody in place and you don't allow them to lead.
Yeah.
Brett Yormark almost across the board has been solid gold. And now he's telling you this is bad. And you're like, yeah, fuck off. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
We're doing it anyway. I'm tired of this bad Cody Campbell talk. It smacks of jealousy like those that don't like Shedeur Sanders and Greg Sankey. Cody Campbell is not a bad guy. Cody Campbell is not a bad actor. Cody Campbell, in my opinion, is not equipped to do what needs to be done. In my opinion, is Cody Campbell is trying to use his money, his wealth, to make people do things that they don't want to do. And that's great on an oil field in West Texas. But in a boardroom in Bristol, Connecticut, it doesn't really work that way.
No.
So you can be a billionaire and you can have people pander to you, the Pat McAfees of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, and you can be invited to the White House only because you're a billionaire. If Cody Campbell wasn't a billionaire, would we know his name?
Nope.
No.
Ryan
Would his
Smith?
would his ideas be good? No, because we wouldn't know about his ideas. Ryan Smith's a very good example. Ryan Smith would be the awkward dude who likes to play golf, such as unlike myself. But yet you're looking at guys like Ryan Smith who only gets a free pass because he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Money affords you affluence. Money, I'm telling you, when you walk into a room and you put your wallet on the floor and then you stand on top of it and you're taller than everybody else, nobody cares about your resume. All they care about is your money. Ryan Smith isn't a cool bro, dude. He's rich. Cody Campbell doesn't have groundbreaking, unbelievable ideas. He's rich.
Mm-hmm.
Smash Capital does not have some new fangled thing that's going to save college sports. They're rich. It's as simple as that. Look at our current administration. Their ideas suck. They're rich. So you're prominent and you're in power. Because in our societies, money equates to affluence and power. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
Who's the last poor dude that's done amazing things? Well, that doesn't exist because the rich people suppress the poor people. That's what's happening in college athletics. And until we stop that, and until specific to the Big 12, until Baylor recognizes that Dave Aranda is a terrible football coach, which essentially they said, hey, we don't think we can hire anybody of note, so we're just going to let little Davey run the football program. This conference is going to suffer. This conference will, and Mike Smith yesterday said, I need to stop talking about the mullet. Why is Oak State a laughingstock of the Big 12? Because they have poor leadership. Why does TCU never win anything? Because they have poor leadership. Why does Baylor find itself in irrelevance in basketball and football? Because they don't win anything.
Yeah.
What do those three schools have in common? Terrible, awful, horrendous leadership. Why is K-State in the position that they're in? You can say it. Terrible, awful leadership. That's why. Oh,
Yeah.
Chris Kleiman's a legend. He's not. Avery Johnson for Heisman. He's not. Right? But nobody's willing to say that in Manhattan. That's the issue. Nobody in Waco is willing to say Dave Aranda is a joke. Dave Aranda shouldn't be the head football coach at Waco, at Baylor in Waco. Nobody's willing to say that. Nobody would ever say we should fire Mike Gundy because he's admitted to drinking and driving and putting our public in danger. Nobody would say, hey, Kirby Smart should probably be suspended for a quarter of the season because his players keep speeding. Because, well, that's not going to go over well. That's going to hurt feelings. Who cares? Why does it matter that Mark Harlan humiliated Utah? We can't say that out loud. Well, yeah, you can. That's called courage and leadership. That's what we're lacking right now. Courage and leadership. But nobody will say that out loud.
Couldn't agree more, dude. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Nobody will say that out loud.
Yeah.
We let Neil Brown stay around 2 years too long, and one of those included an extension, but they got rid of him. Not going to keep blaming him for what happened on the field now. No. Again, I don't think this is a complicated thing. West Virginia has zero expectations. Nobody expects West Virginia. With all due respect, nobody expects West Virginia to be good. Does the Big 12 live and die on West Virginia football? No. If Oklahoma State were a national power in football, would the Big 12 be in a significantly better position? If TCU, which has now plummeted in football since, sign stealer guy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
If TCU had sustained that level of success, would this conference be in a significantly better position?
Sign stealer guy.
If Baylor had fired Dave Aranda 2 years ago when we told him to, and hired any of the other coaches in the college football world that has gotten hired. Like what you have to understand is Oklahoma State should be the foundation of the Big 12.
Yes.
Oklahoma State should be the linchpin that this conference relies on as the axis of its success. But for year after year after year, you allowed Mike Gundy to thrive, and that culture is pervasive. Not only in Stillwater, that culture of indifference. The reason I talk about Mike Gundy every day to this day when we talk about Big 12 football is because that mindset has infected this league. Sonny Dykes shouldn't be the head coach at TCU. And I like Sonny a lot. He has no business being the head coach at TCU. Like, I can go up and down the list. If Chris Kleiman hadn't resigned, would he have been fired? No. If Deion Sanders doesn't win this year, will he be fired? Probably not. Should he be? Yes.
But why wouldn't he be? Because he makes some money.
Yet, if Joey McGuire hadn't won the last 2 years, he wouldn't be there. If Kalani Sitake, I'm telling you, if Kalani Sitake hadn't made an unbelievable pivot to winning, he wouldn't be there. Right?
Like
they're the only two universities spending the money and making the hires repeatedly. And it's not just the Big 12. I am telling you, and he's not. Dan Lanning should be on the clock at Oregon. He's not. And he won't be. Dan Lanning can have that job as long as he wants, and I think he could have 6-8 win seasons, and he could have that job as long as he wants. Because this lazy-ass mentality of I don't want to fire the guy is pervasive amongst the mediocre football teams in this country, and now there's far too many of them. It's such a plague on college football. Look at Notre Dame. Will Marcus Freeman be fired if this is an 8-win team this year? Let's say that this Notre Dame team, whose only stated goal is to win a national championship. That's our only goal. They have put it out there. They have talked about it. They're putting out video. Undefeated national championship. Or what? Or what? Pete Bavacqua humiliated this university with his bullshit best 10-game winning streak ever. They win 8 games. Does Bavacqua get fired?
Bavacqua.
No. We'll pray for him. Does Marcus Freeman get fired? No. They win 8 games. Marcus Freeman will not be. No. He should be. Can Marcus Freeman recruit? Yes. What does recruiting mean if you don't win games? You're wasting those dudes. Simple as that. But that's the mentality that is pervasive across college football. And until that goes away, I'm going to keep fucking talking about Mike Gundy because that's the problem. Mike Gundy is the flagrant example. He's the blowtorch example. Like the guy didn't win, never won, condoned DUIs, didn't recruit, didn't in NIL, but we won't fire. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mean Dabo Swinney? Yeah, that's right. We won't fire Dabo Swinney either. Because that's who we are. Yet Indiana will have Mark Cuban and will pay guys and will have a philosophy and a process and a plan in place that works so they recruit all their players and they won a national championship. And you're telling me Oak State can't do the same thing? Won't do the same thing. That's how I'd put it.
Agreed.
Nebraska is an interesting one. How mediocre has Nebraska been since Tom Osborne? Why is Trev Alberts not the athletic director at Nebraska? What did I tell you when he left Nebraska? And I know Trev pretty well from our TV days. Trev Alberts is focused on one thing. And it's the only thing any athletic director should be focused on: winning a national championship in college football. How many teams, and I'll stop my rant after this. How many teams in the Big 12 are focused on winning a national championship in college football? I think one. Texas Tech. One team in the Big 12 is focused on winning a national championship. Who else? BYU's not. BYU doesn't do everything they can do to win a national. They want to win games. I think BYU's focused on going to the college football playoff.
Agreed.
I don't think they're focused on winning a national championship.
And to double down on that, I would say they're focused on going undefeated, given the fact that they've been bounced twice for 1 or 2 lost seasons.
And no, they're not the same thing. Going to the college football playoff and winning a national championship are not the same thing. See Dan Lanning.
Yeah, but I think the difference, see, this is where I disagree with you about Dan, obviously, and we've talked about this, is that when we're going to use the label of mediocre, I think that there are levels to that, though. Like, you have teams that compete for national championships every year. We all know the usual suspects that we can rely on for that, Ohio State and others. Then you've got the group of schools that go to the CFP regularly, but haven't been able to get to that national championship level of competitiveness. But I wouldn't call those teams mediocre. I would call those teams, moneymakers that just, haven't figured out how to win national championships yet. Not a bad place to be. It's not the best place to be, but it's not, I wouldn't say that that's mediocre. I think any team that like BYU right now, I would call mediocre because you haven't gotten to the CFP. But the moment you get to the CFP, now you're having a different conversation because, again, the money you make from playing in CFP games separates you from a revenue standpoint from everybody else. Even if you just get one, that's better than getting none. And that's why I'm saying that the line in the sand for me is, are you in the CFP regularly or are you not the CFP regularly? So unfortunately, I love what BYU is doing right now. I think that, Kalani's got them going the right way. As much as I have my hesitations about Bear Bachmeier, they're a mediocre team until they're in the CFP. And that's why I disagree about Dan, because I agree he's not winning natties and there's work to be done, but he is in the CFP regularly. And I think that puts him in a different class.
So all we need to do is get to the CFP.
Yeah, to make money. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
But I'm not talking about making money. Making money, when you go to the college football playoff and you win a national championship, you make an ass load of money. So what should your goal be? To make money or to win a national championship? Your goal should be doing everything it takes to win a national championship. Dan Lanning's not doing that. Did Dan Lanning he just lost both of his coordinators. Did he do a national search and find the best guys to replace them? No, he stayed in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Does Dan Lanning beat good teams in the college football playoff? And I'm not saying Dan Lanning should be fired. I'm telling you, he either wins a national champ. And how many years does he get to lose in the college football playoff?
Well, he's only been there 5 years, and he's been to the CFP 3 times, I think.
Okay, so that's the bar now. What's the expectation then?
Well, yeah, but you're moving the bar on Dan.
I'm not moving. No.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
you are.
No, I am not.
Okay.
No, I am not. It's Oregon. They have all the assets that they need to win a national championship.
Right, and he just played two of the best teams in the history of college football.
Right, and he lost.
Right. That doesn't mean he's a bad head coach or he should be fired or they're not.
I didn't say he's a bad head coach. I didn't say he should be fired. What I said was Dan Lanning should be on the clock.
No chance. No.
Yes.
I'm not firing Dan Lanning.
Who said to fire Dan Lanning?
You're saying he should be on the clock. What does that mean?
You have to perform in the college football playoff now. When you get there every year, it's not good enough to just get there anymore. This is the problem in Oklahoma State.
No, the problem in Oklahoma State is they won't even put a roster together.
How many times are we going to talk about Oklahoma? Mike Gundy won 10 games every year. Cool. What does that mean?
It means he didn't get to the CFP like Dan Lanning.
It means he doesn't win. It means he wins 10 games. Oh, well, that's cool. Let's give him an extension. We're not in an era anymore where we can where getting there is enough. It's not enough. Not when you've been there. For BYU, should Kalani Sitake and Dan Lanning be on the same plane? Should they be on the... No, because Kalani Sitake hasn't gotten to the college football playoff. He hasn't. And I would also tell you another reason they shouldn't be viewed through the same lens. Kalani Sitake's got far more hurdles in his way with the church and with the honor code and the limitations in recruiting. Dan Lanning has none of those. Dan Lanning can get any athlete he wants, doesn't do it. Dan Lanning can get pretty much any perk that is needed. Travel. They travel in style. Uniforms, Nike, Jordans, facilities, TV. He's got it all. Well, he's in the college football playoff every year. Contract extension. You've got, at some point, I don't know. Maybe I'm just over the top of it. I'm the only one who ever says Marcus Freeman's an average ass head coach.
Yeah, because I think you're forgetting that while yes, he's made mistakes, it's you're so the issue I have is you're criticizing, like you're saying, hey, Gundy was always a 10-game winner and that wasn't good enough, which I agree with because you weren't consistently in the CFP and you never competed for national championships.
Correct.
But you can't say that and then be like, well, hey, Dan's getting there, but if he doesn't win a national championship this coming season, then he should be on the clock, which is to say, if you're going to say a guy is on the clock, that means that you're saying that they should consider firing him and look for somebody else. That's what that means.
No, what I'm saying when I say he's on the clock, don't give him another contract extension until he raises the bar to another level. Get to the college football playoff.
Okay, who are you? If you fire Dan Lanning, who are you going to go? Who would you go and try and get?
You're Oregon. You're Oregon. You should be able to hire any coach in the country.
But you and I both know that that's a completely unrealistic thing to say.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Well,
you're telling me that if the Oregon football job is open, you can't call any coach in the country.
Yeah, but this is what you said about LSU, right? Like, yeah, cool. If your job is open, you can call anybody. That doesn't mean anybody's going to take it. That doesn't mean that
They
any
got
coach is
Lane
going to leave the
Kiffin.
post.
LSU got Lane Kiffin.
Because Lane Kiffin was at a school that's not as competitive as LSU and doesn't have the same access.
Ole Miss was going to play for a national championship, for crying out loud.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would contend that you're extremely biased against Dan Lanning for what he's done.
Because he doesn't win.
Right, but
he
wins
game.
more than 90% of head coaches in college football.
Right.
Like
and this is what Kirk Cignetti has. This is what
standard.
No, it's not. This is what Kirk Cignetti has done to college football. He's a better coach than Dan Lanning. He has a better process and a better plan than Dan Lanning does. I'm not saying Dan Lanning's a bad coach or should be fired. He's been to the college playoff multiple times now. Is that good enough anymore?
Yes, it's what every program's trying to do. It's the same conversation. It's the exact same conversation as any sporting team that gets to the playoffs regularly and doesn't win, but then finds their way to a national championship and then goes on a run. I can't believe that we have to sit here and talk about that Oregon, if he doesn't win a national championship, should be on the clock. I just disagree completely. I think that in today's college football landscape, if you're going to the CFP, you can't just take that for granted. I understand that there's a difference between the CFP and a national championship and stature and programs. I agree with that, and I've said that repeatedly. But I'm not going to sit here and start talking about Dan going anywhere until bro stops going to the CFP and stops being a 2-loss team or a 1-loss team in the Big Ten.
They're not talented enough. They're not good enough defensively. He has lost 2 coordinators. I'm telling you, if that job is open, pick the coach outside of Kirby, probably Lane Kiffin.
Ryan Day's not going. Lane Kiffin's not
Ryan
going.
Day's
Kirby's not going.
Right. Those guys are institutions at their universities. Like, those are multi-time national champions, and Lane just took Ole Miss. Essentially, if he was there, I think, go to the national championship.
Okay, so if those guys aren't available to you, then we can stop saying the best head coaches are available to you, because those are the best head coaches in college football, 100%. We all agree on that. That's not in dispute.
But what school can hire Kirby Smart?
Only schools that have access to national championships.
Where's Ryan Day going?
Nowhere.
So what you're saying is nobody's hiring those guys. But my point is, who's a coach that got hired? Kyle Whittingham. If the Oregon job was open and Kyle Whittingham went to Oregon.
No, I wouldn't expect him. I wouldn't expect him to do what Dan's doing, mainly because he hasn't done it. Well, and I think that if you go to, like, Michigan's a great case study. If Witt doesn't see a national championship inside of 3 seasons, what are you going to say about him? Because you're a big Witt guy. You've said that Witt's a better head coach than Dan.
I think if Kyle Whittingham doesn't win a national champion, doesn't win the Big Ten, because this is a really interesting conversation. Look at the staff he's built at Michigan. If Bryce Underwood doesn't compete for a Heisman Trophy this year or next year, I'd be surprised. And if he isn't substantially better, they will not have him there. He will transfer. That's my guess. If Kyle Whittingham doesn't take Michigan to a Big Ten championship, probably not this year. I think there's still a lot of noise there, and I think he's having to rebuild the depth of talent there, because I think Butterknives left that cupboard completely empty. I think this year we'll see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
A year from now, I would expect Kyle Whittingham to have a substantially more talented roster, because he's going to have a recruiting class and a portal window, and he's got elite recruiters on his staff. Okay, great. If a year from now, Kyle Whittingham's roster is not significantly more talented, and his defense is not one of the best 4 defenses in the country, I'd be stunned.
Right, but what's the indictment on Kyle Whittingham?
Well, that indictment went away when he hired Jason Beck.
Yeah, well, that didn't really do much for them offensively, though. They struggled
Are you
offensively.
out of your mind?
No, I'm not out of my mind. He didn't have receivers.
Utah struggled offensively.
Yes.
No, they did not.
Utah what was the Texas Tech game?
Texas Tech was one of the top 5 defenses in the country.
Okay.
And I agree with you. He didn't hit skill position wise. He didn't have wide receivers. Their offense was a dominant run offense with arguably the best offensive line or one of the best offensive lines in the country. That's the best offense that Kyle Whittingham ever had at Utah this past year. That was a dominant physical unit. And I agree with you that they didn't have skill positions. Their offense was not bad at Utah. Their biggest problem was they did not have explosiveness on the outside. He will not have that problem at Michigan. That will not be an issue for him at Michigan. Right? I don't know why I didn't think of this. Steve Sarkisian.
Not the head coach that Dan Lanning is in today's era.
No, he's not. Because he doesn't win the biggest games. And you just fired one of the best defensive coordinators in the country in Pete Kwiatkowski, who's now an NFL coach, I would point out.
Mm-hmm.
And if Will Muschamp, who's been a complete failure as a head coach, doesn't build a better defense than you've had, which is going to be tough because all they do is defend and put dudes in the NFL at Texas. That's all Pete Kwiatkowski did. So good luck getting back to the top of that mountain. That's a guy who, if Steve Sarkisian doesn't win a national championship with Arch Manning, he should be on the clock at Texas. Because where is the bar higher than at the University of Texas? Nowhere. He's got all the talent. You want to talk about quality wide receivers, quarterbacks. They fixed their running back room this offseason. You've got defensive dude for days. Come on. Did Utah go to the Big 12 championship game in a watered down conference? Well, I don't think it was watered down.
Yeah, but they had injuries, and that's not the point, dude. The point is that we're sitting here trying to ratio Dan Lanning and say that he's not doing enough, and we're
he's not winning the biggest games. It's not that Dan Lanning's not doing enough.
Well, isn't that the same thing?
No. Here are my 2 biggest criticisms. He's not talented enough on his roster. And he doesn't win big games. Those are my 2 big criticisms. It's great you're going to the college football playoff. You got boat rate last year. Okay, cool. You beat a couple. Texas Tech's a good football team. Was Texas Tech one of the 5 best teams in the country this year? Clearly they were not. And I guess it shouldn't matter. That's a P4 team in the college football playoff, and Dan beat them.
And a lot of people thought they were going to beat Oregon.
Cool. Now it's time for Dan Lanning to go to a national championship game. And if he doesn't, Oregon fans should be disappointed because Phil Knight ain't going to live forever. That's my point on Dan Lanning. And we got to raise the bar. Why are we so scared? And I'll talk about Marcus Freeman. Why are we so scared to say if Marcus Freeman doesn't win a national championship, it's a disappointing season? Why is that outlandish? Notre Dame should be competing for a national championship every single year, yet never does. Okay, we went to the national championship game and lost to Ohio State. And then missed the college football playoff altogether? You weren't victims. You just weren't good. But yet, Marcus Freeman, man, he's the best head coach. Wow. No, he's not. And now it appears, and maybe I'm wrong, but now it appears that Marcus Freeman has had the light turned on. And so we're all in on, hey, day one, our football season ended. Off-season program starts 15 minutes after the whistle. And now we're all lifting weights together. And now we're squatting large school buses in the weight room. And we're eating like unbelievable robots and machines. And our guys at the combine are running like the wind. And we're all motivated and we're recruiting and we're portaling like nobody's business. And, well, where's that been for the last 3 years?
Yeah, there's a process to learn how to win a national championship. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
I would agree with that. There is definitely a process.
I also think that the obvious elephant in the room is Curt Cignetti's almost 70 years old and has been doing this for, must be 40 years, 30 years. I mean, he's been in the game that long.
But at what level? Curt Cignetti caught lightning in a bottle. Mark Cuban brought his billions. They went and portaled well. They figured out what I've been telling people for 5 years. Do not rely on 17-year-old high school seniors to win you a national championship. Go and get older players. Portal. The portal is where you win a national championship. Anybody heard of Fernando Mendoza? Oh, he was a high school senior, and they went and got him, and he came in as a true freshman and won it. No, actually, that's not true. Fernando Mendoza is an old man. How did Indiana, you remember back at the stadium 2 years ago, how did Indiana lose to Notre Dame? You relive the greatness. How did Indiana lose to Notre Dame? They couldn't throw the football down the field. So what did you do? You portaled a quarterback and you won a national championship. It's not rocket science. How come Dan Lanning hasn't done that? How come Dan Lanning can't find dudes who can get to the quarterback? One of the worst quarterback pressure teams in the country. Anyway. Let me read your comments. Lambert stopped his X account because of what he posted. It was from an article dating back a couple of years ago. Stay away from Drake Toll. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Right above them, there's 2 comments about people reporting about West Virginia and TCU and all these schools moving. Usual troll stuff.
Anybody telling you that West Virginia's joining the ACC doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm not even going to justify that kind of stupidity with anybody that thinks TCU is joining the ACC. I can't fix stupid.
It's called clickbaiting, dude.
I do not know too many that have said Marcus Freeman is the best. Oh my God. Are you out of your mind? We just had a graphic like last week where wasn't Marcus Freeman like number 3 on that graphic or something? I'm pretty sure we had a graphic of the best college football coaches just the other day where I think it was Joel Klatt, right? Who had Joel Klatt best college football coaches. Joel Klatt had a graphic where I think he had Marcus Freeman like top 5. I'm pretty sure it was 5th. I'll find it here. Here it is. Don't know too many who say Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman, let's be very clear. Marcus Freeman, the only thing he has more of than assets and resources to win games is excuses why he has not. And everybody puts him up as the 5th best coach. Here's Joel Klatt last week. Dan Lanning, the 4th best coach in college football. You're crazy. The absolute filleting of Marcus Freeman. Come on. Oh, he's a dumbass though. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Right. It just doesn't matter. You can't, it's fine. By you, I mean anyone making the argument. What do you mean? Excuses only work for the narrative and the argument you are making. Well, I just think, okay. YouTube is bad about removing or demonetizing content for silly reasons. I know a lot of content creators I used to watch concerning pew-pews have moved on because of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've pondered. Not the show will always be on YouTube. It's not like we're not going to do YouTube, but I think that the suppression of content is tough to deal with when those particular topics are, things that people want to talk about. And I'm with all of you guys that are uncomfortable with TikTok in terms of privacy issues and things like that. But it gets to a point where it's like, dude, if we live stream the show every day on TikTok, it wouldn't be long before we had a pretty serious following on TikTok. And I think that's what's difficult.
But again, I post probably a video or two every day on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I posted a video the other day about Zepbound, which is a no-no. A no-no.
On TikTok?
Yes. It got
Why is 30. It a no-no on TikTok?
I don't know. 32 views. My average views are between 300 and 1,000.
Yeah.
All of my, I posted a video about talking about yesterday, dreaming versus doing. 76 views. Zepbound, 32 views. A video I posted on 2 weeks ago about Zepbound, 48 views. There is no question that the limiting and the repression of certain topics on TikTok is massive. Massive. There's no doubt about that. I use YouTube, TikTok dirty, X dirty, can't get into Instagram. I hate X.
Yeah.
I hate it. I do YouTube and X occasionally for recruiting news, and that's it. Yeah, X is terrible. I'm only here on YouTube for the Monty show. Damn right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that it's interesting, like the way people use social media and YouTube and things like that. Like you're either pro YouTube or anti YouTube. Like it's very much like it's not YouTube's okay. It's more like I either hate it or I love it, or or like welcome to the nightmare. I'm only here for this one thing and I don't use YouTube for anything else. And that's what's really interesting is like I agree suppression happens on every platform, but the thing that I think is interesting about TikTok right now is it's obviously a younger demo, and TikTok is pushing live streaming stuff hard. They really want that segment. So we'll see. I mean, maybe again, like I said, it's not that we don't want a live stream on TikTok. It's more of a machine issue. I mean, I could easily get a $400, $500 like mini PC or something that would allow us to do it. We just haven't done it yet.
I watched the show. I watched show on YouTube. Okay, playa. Okay. The last thing the Big 12 needs is to go against what Brett Yormark is saying. He has been amazing, and if you lose him, the conference will be in shambles.
Yeah, but the conference is already in shambles, and that has nothing to do with Brett. Like, Brett's done everything he can do.
Yeah. Bryce Martin, I love Cody Campbell when he's funding Texas Tech sports, but everything else I kind of tune out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are on that. Operation Epic Bro Talk names. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or you put bad leadership in like Pac-12 did for all those years and let USC and UCLA walk. Yes. Ryan Smith, behind the scenes, controls 85% of the weed business in Utah. I'm sure he probably does. Anything that makes money, right? Can't keep blaming Gundy when he's no longer there. Blame the university. Fine. It's the leadership there now. Sure. I love Avery Johnson. I would vote for him if I had a Heisman vote. Exactly. It's baffling in the modern era of pay for play that Stanford is in the best athletic program in the country. The reason they're not leadership. Well, and they value education. Stanford doesn't care if you ever win a game. And their endowment is massive. I would agree. If any team would step up in the Big 12, it would help. Not just a few teams, all of them. I mean, it would be incredible. Just give me one. Most Big 12 teams do not have the money of the majority of the Big 10 or the SEC. They just do not. A few do, but most don't. But you don't need Ohio State money to compete with Ohio State. What you need is to have a commercial sales department. Build a business unit. Right? Like it's Pastor James White pleasuring himself to videos of facilities being built. Right? Like you look at all of the facilities at BYU and Texas Tech, they're elite. There's a reason that they're winning. They have money. They have donors. If you don't have a donor base, you're going to struggle. And West Virginia is in a very down economic area of our country. It's very difficult. I don't disagree with that. Look at Nebraska. If you want to see a program, yes, that's true. Saying Oregon should consider firing Lanning is crazy because they were on the doorstep to a natty and it's been there. He's been there less than 5 years. Are they on the doorstep to a natty? I think there's a lot of questions about why he promoted the guys he promoted. Will Stein and Tosh Lapoy were pretty good at their jobs, and you didn't do a national search. You just hired a couple of dudes in your program. We'll see. Over half of Big Ten are bad, even with all that money. Yeah, it's not money.
Yeah, they don't want to be good. That's the problem.
Money. Yeah, money is not what determines wins and losses on the field. Plays a role. It's not. Leadership at your university, I think, is far more impactful on the field than money. But those teams have money, so they do not have the same problems. Difference between wanting to spend more money and able to spend more money. I would agree with that. How many ACC teams? How many teams in the ACC are going for a national championship? Miami and Florida State. Miami, Florida State. I think Clemson would like to, but Dabo's standing in the way. You know. You get what you tolerate. Good to great book. Yeah, you get what you tolerate. I mean, it's as simple as that. You know, Witt has not even done as much as Lanning, but he seemed to be good enough for you. Well, I think Kyle Whittingham has done way, way, way more than Dan Lanning. What Kyle Whittingham, the obstacles in Kyle Whittingham's way, and the things he overcame with NIL, not having NIL. Do you guys understand that for many, many years to start, Utah their NIL stuff was run by their players like Britton Covey. Didn't have an NIL department. Just didn't have one. When we did an event where we had Utah players come out, Brant Keithy and several others, we had to call them directly. They didn't have an NIL department, a coordinator, staff. Nothing. The obstacles there are real. Teams that are really trying to win a natty, results aside, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Michigan, USC, Texas Tech, Miami, maybe Clemson, FSU, Notre Dame, Georgia, Texas, A&M, LSU, Bama, Ole Miss, Florida, Tennessee. I would agree with those. What about USC? Lincoln Riley has done nothing, and he almost got fired. And look what happened. He's for 2 straight years had the best recruiting classes, top portal classes. You know, the clock should be ticking on Lincoln, and it is. You know, match up throwdown.
Subi bro. Yeah.
Subi bro.
Yeah.
I think what Monty is trying to say, Jake, is you need to treat these big program college coaches like an NFL coach. Making the playoffs only keeps your job for so long. Sean McDermott, for example. That's not a bad analogy. Not a bad analogy. If Kyle Whittingham went to Oregon, would they win the Natty? I don't know. They would be. I don't think that. Listen, I'm not saying that Dan Lanning's a bad coach, but I think you have to put him in focus. You have to understand that he, to this point, has shown you he's not capable of winning a national championship. Kyle Whittingham has shown you that. I'm not saying either one of them is a bad coach. There is no better hire this cycle than Kyle Whittingham at Michigan. He is the exact guy they needed. Right? That's a better hire than Lane Kiffin getting to LSU. I think because of the circumstances and the totality of just how dregs of society Michigan is.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't fire Ward Manuel, I think it's null and void. I think it just doesn't matter that they hired Witt.
Yeah, it doesn't. You can't have Ward Manuel continue there.
Yeah.
You just can't. Ryan Day was getting raked over the coals until he finally won the Natty. By this landing logic, Monty is saying Day should have been fired. Oh, we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it. What saved him? Chip Kelly and buddy from K-State, Will Howard. I mean, Scott, I hate Oregon more than life itself, but Lanning is doing a great job and should not be in the discussion to be fired. I'm not saying he should be in the discussion to be fired today. But at what point aren't you at a level at Oregon now where you expect to win the national championship and going to the college football playoffs just not good enough? Or no?
I think you do expect to win national championships. I would agree with that. But I don't think there's ever a time and place in college football where not that you're saying it's bad to go to the CFP, obviously, but like I just think there's a middle ground that you don't like to, it's just not how you go about it. I think that these schools and these athletic departments, I think it's a dangerous game if you're an athletic department, Oregon aside, any athletic department. It's a dangerous game to play when you have a coach that's consistently getting to the CFP and you're getting revenue from that to get to a place where you may or may not take that for granted. And I think that there have been programs in the past that have done that. Like I think Ohio State was doing that with Ryan Day, taking that for granted. I think the guy that no one wants to talk about is James Franklin. Look what happened to Penn State when they fired James Franklin. Not the same, and you're not going to be the same. I don't believe that Matt Campbell is going to do anything at Penn State. I think that Matt is did a great job with Iowa State, but I think he's playing in a much deeper pond.
You don't think Matt Campbell raises the bar or none of that?
I think Matt Campbell is going to have a really good defense, and I think that Matt Campbell is going to struggle massively to recruit offense at Penn State. That's what I think, and I think that it was okay your quarterback was Rocco Becht at Iowa State, but that's not going to be good enough at Penn State. And the only saving grace for him at Penn State is that he will get several years to figure it out. And hopefully he does. But I'm just telling you that there's value in consistently being in the CFP. There is more value in winning national championships, of course, as there is in any sport with any coach. But I'm not going to sit here and do anything other than say, yeah, the expectation is national championships at Oregon. He hasn't proven the ability to do that yet. He's also only been in it for 5 years, and I think that matters when you compare him to Kirby Smart and Ryan Day and these other guys who have had more success. And, I think that what would it take for Dan Lanning to be on the hot seat or to be on the clock in reality, in my opinion? I think you'd have to have 2 seasons in a row where you're not in the CFP. You'd have to have just seasons that are just terrible. You're doing an awful job. Like you're not relevant in the Big Ten, that type of material for 2 seasons for him to be fired. But, again, we'll see. Maybe he falls off. Maybe you're right. I mean, maybe not doing a national search for the coordinators comes back to get him. I don't know, but that remains to be seen. So that's why I say if he comes out this year and he's, he gets 1 game further in the CFP, he's making progress. If he doesn't make the CFP at all, then you got to talk about him. That's how it works.
Okay. There's an argument in the comments section about where Utah's offense. Will Witt ever have an offense? Utah had a top 6 offense, if I'm not mistaken, statistically. Looking at the numbers, the Utah Utes were 4th nationally in total offense with 482.9 yards a game. 4th nationally in scoring offense. Like you guys, I am telling you, Utah's offense was not a problem this year. They dominated people on the ground. They could not throw the ball down the field because they didn't have skill position players.
So if the logic we're going with is like basically, hey, just because you got there, that doesn't mean it's good enough, right?
Right.
That's what we're saying about Dan. I would contend with Utah's offense. Were they better? Yes, of course. Jason Beck, you got a better quarterback. You got, you clearly were better offensively. You weren't competitive against Texas Tech. You were not competitive in any way, shape, or form
I
against
agree.
that team. So I don't like, were they better? Sure. Did it matter? No. And that's where I say, like, we're sitting here wondering about Bryce Underwood. Like, I don't think the dude's gonna be a Heisman contender
Well,
this
he's going to
season.
make or break right now because
Yeah.
Jason, the upside potential of Bryce Underwood will be realized. He's either at his ceiling or he's going to get to his ceiling because Jason Beck's a quarterback guru.
Mhm.
And Bryce Underwood is remarkably talented and had no coaching.
Which we know. Yeah.
I mean, the only coaching he got was never mind. The point is, yeah. If Sark calls another screen pass, fire him. Thank you. Thank you. Who's a real awkward guy who's been a member for 17 months. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate that very much. All right, let's firing Ryan Day is what we call premature firing for a sports talk argument. Well, you're not going to fire him now.
Well, but it wasn't premature at the time, Mike.
No.
It was a legitimate concern. I mean, that wasn't like, now it sounds silly because of what he's done, and give him credit. But then, like, he hadn't won. I mean, he was what James Franklin was. Like, you were getting there, but you weren't winning, and you had done that for probably 10 years, I think it
Yeah,
was, or like he had been
correct.
there a long enough time where it was like, yeah, this is kind of your reputation now. You're no longer kind of still seasoning. You're that guy. That's who you are.
Yep.
And so, I just think it's again, it's the defining thing. But I think on a day when we're sitting here talking about private equity and money and revenue and who's doing what, and they're right now in college football, I just think, again, this is the same conversation we were having about like economics and things like that in the real world, right? Like, there's real value in having consistent and like consistent, reliable income. And that's what I feel like the Dan Lannings of the world and others provide. If you have a younger head coach who can recruit, and to a point where you're in the CFP and you're making that extra money, that's valuable. I don't like, from that standpoint, it's really valuable. So, that to me is that, like, that's the pressure on Lane Kiffin now, right? With everything that he did getting
Yes.
LSU, like, you're going to have to win and pay that off now and make them look good, or else that's going to get nasty for him. So that's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you can't put Marcus continues to text me about Zepbound and what I'm doing to look so thin. Like, he's asked me
Yeah,
like five different ways.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, you are like physically smaller. Like, and you probably don't see it as much as obviously other people looking at you do. That's how it works. Obviously, we all know that. But like,
Yeah.
I think that bro, it's not rocket science. It's just it's a thing where, I would say that you have a pretty good metabolism for where you're at. You're pretty active. Like, obviously the walking helps. Like, it's those little things, those little added things that really
Yes.
help. And that's just, that's how it works.
Totally. And I'm telling you, it's this. Can you guys, I don't know if you see it.
Yeah, you can see it.
I take one of those every day. It's called BioK. It's a probiotic supplement. Makes a big difference. I can't eat steak anymore. I don't love the steak, man. We had steak for dinner last night.
What
With
do you
like
mean?
steak
You were just
tacos.
high on steak. What do you mean? What do you?
I
burned out
love
on
it.
now?
No, I love it. It just sits in my system. Like, I eat steak on Zepbound and it just sits in my system.
I mean, how much are you having though? I mean, that's the thing. Not that you're eating a whole
I
strip.
probably had 6 ounces on Saturday night, and that just put the hard stop on my pooper. And then I probably had 6 more ounces last night, something like that, 6-8 ounces. I had another fillet chopped up into tacos, and it just puts a hard stop on my system. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
love it.
I like how I feel on it. Steak and chicken and turkey sit really well for me. I do. I am very, very cognizant of not eating a lot of steak in one sitting. Like I like those. I got the strips from Costco, that 3-pack, and I
Yeah.
cut them in half. Like I didn't like when I say I cut them in half. What I did was I put it on its side and cut it in half, and then I cut it. So I basically
Yeah.
quartered it.
Yeah.
And I a quarter of that steak is perfectly fine for one sitting, which is why I know we didn't talk about it a lot, but I actually think that's a great value for people on Zepbound right now, or any GLP-1. If you go to Costco and you get the 3-pack of strip, or like any of their multi-packs, because because the portion size is so small, you can get a lot out of those, man.
Yeah, Marcus is talking about how he this is his 4th Zepbound shot. And starting from ground zero, 4th Zepbound shot, and I haven't even lost 10 pounds yet.
Well,
And
what level are you on?
Well, he's on 2.5.
Okay.
He started over. So
Yeah, I
we'll
didn't see a
see.
lot of progress on 2.5. I didn't. I had to go up.
Yeah.
And once I got to 5, the second level, that's when I started cutting a lot. So
Yeah,
I just think that you have to go up.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. He lifts weights 4 days a week, and I think it's tough in the beginning on Zepbound. It's tougher to lose weight because of the inflammation. But Utah didn't dominate BYU. Well, Kyle Whittingham dominated BYU for much of his tenure. Last year, didn't they? I'm not going to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure they had almost 500 yards of offense. They lost the game last year. What was it, 24-21 they lost? So, I think it's interesting, but we'll see. By the way, my earlier question about TCU was more about that, dude. It's just their lies. It's not true. Like, can we get to a point at some point where we stop believing all of the bullshit that's on YouTube? If you guys are listening to Drake Toll, I don't know how to fix that. Like, has that guy ever been like? Go back to, I don't even remember Buddy's name, who was like, oh, the Pac-12's getting $600 million a year and they're going to block that. No, they're not.
Or Schultz is going to hold up the CFP committee.
No, he's not. He's not. Like, and you guys get into, and you just want to keep commenting about it. And it's like, you're trying to make us talk about it. And it just, come on, man. I recently talked with Doc because I seemed like I plateaued, so was advised to up the dosage to the next level. I'm on 10 and it makes a difference. This week I have not lost a stitch, but again, I think it's because my system's on a hard stop. Thanks to the steak the other night.
Marcus, the thing I would also say, dude, is that you do need to up the dosage if you are lifting 4 days a week. You need to. I don't know how you lift. There's a lot of different ways to lift. Are you lifting really heavy and putting a lot of stress on your body? Are you lifting for heart rate, lightweight, high rep, trying to get intensity out of it? I mean, it's just there's a lot in there, but what I would tell you is that for me, the game that I play with myself in terms of food and losing the weight is I'm just simply trying to eat enough to where I feel, I mean, I never feel hungry, but I know when I need to eat. It's a feeling. You just know that, hey, like I need to eat something because I could just feel it. I'm not hungry, but I know my body's telling me like I need to eat. And sometimes that manifests itself in like fatigue, yawning, feeling tired. And then I eat and I'm like, all right, cool. I got my energy back. I'm good. Like we're good. So like, I know when I need to do that, I've got that pretty dialed. But like, again, I mean, I had like, again, yesterday I made that strip. I had it cut up just in a Tupperware in the thing. And I had legitimately probably 4 pieces of like just like julienne steak. Like you're not eating a lot. You're basically just eating enough to get your energy back, and that's basically it. And then you need to be drinking a lot of water. I'm guessing you're probably not drinking enough water, because if you're struggling to lose any weight, you're probably not peeing a lot and working your system, and you're lifting. Like it doesn't work. But that doesn't math for me, in my opinion. Not criticizing. I'm just saying, like, you're lifting, your metabolism's going, your body's healing, which is going to burn more calories, but your muscles are also retaining water. So you need to be drinking enough water to where they can retain the water, and you still have extra. And you will know that when you're going to the bathroom more.
Yeah. Yeah, so I go over to the old X machine to look up the BYU. I go to my internet browser, and X is the first thing I see here.
Yeah.
Wagyu steak on sale. I'm talking about steak, and there's a steak thing on.
It drives me nuts.
Come on, man. Anyway, my point is, you have to be. Yeah, I don't know. The Tallarico thing last night.
Incredible.
Jasmine Crockett calling it a fraudulent election.
It's just such a soft take, dude.
What the Republicans have done in the state of Texas to try and undermine the election is remarkable. It's remarkable. If TCU had not fired a winner in Gary Patterson, they had a good shot at the 2022 title. Instead, we got Spike's baby boy. Sonny Dykes is a good football coach. I just don't.
It ran its course.
Yeah.